The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to Easy Money New England.
Oh, can somebody help us here?
We can, because we are real estate and mortgage professionals.
Here you go. Just come in and browse.
That's right. Come on in, listen up, and learn.
How long do you intend to browse?
In a short period of time, our panel will teach you some tricks that might make your house buying easier.
You don't ask her how long she intends to browse.
You might not be looking for a mortgage today, but we'll get you ready.
You don't look like browsers.
Are you looking?
No, what do browsers look like?
Yeah, maybe I'm half browse.
On his father's side.
This is Easy Money New England
Let's show the lady we're browse.
with your host, Brian Damico.
Hey, look at us, we're browse. One more word out of you and he gets it, all right? Come on.
Hello. Welcome to another version of Easy Money New England. Another show of Easy Money New England. And today with us we have Ricotta. I'll say Ricotta just like New England. Ricotta. Ricotta. And Kathy Holtshouser.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, you
Thanks for
messed
coming.
up my name, but you're all right with Holtshouser?
Kathy H. We'll go by Kathy H.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
and today we're going to talk about, buying a home and from a attorney's perspective. This is attorney Ricotta. And Rick, you've been around for a very long time.
Thank you for that introduction.
Dinosaur.
Exactly. No, the name of your show says it all. Easy money, if you do it right.
If you do it right.
If you do it right.
Well, we like to say there's no such thing as easy money.
No such thing as easy money. And I love the Rodney Dangerfield in the
Yeah.
show there. That's
Love
good.
it.
That's
And,
good.
um,
And we were trying to act so professional today, and you have Rodney Dangerfield starting. Kathy usually does a dance on our show, so we have a podcast on our show.
I'll
too.
save it.
Yeah, you'll save that show for us.
Kathy H. She's a paralegal. And how long you been in this business?
Oh, a very long time, probably 30 plus
We
years.
always
30 plus
we always
years,
kid
wow.
she's on probation at Carter Real Estate Law for 30 years. We're going to see how she does.
Yeah.
We're going to see how she comes along there. But yeah, I appreciate you having us join you today. And yeah, we just thought we'd talk a little bit from our angle how things could be a lot easier for buyers as they come through the process. I know you have some very good originators, so
Right.
but once they get the thing going and they're now in our hands from our perspective on how what the do's and don'ts are.
So,
So-
say someone calls you and says, I'm looking for a loan. I'm looking to buy a house. What would be your advice to them?
Call New Fed 1
There you go.
1-800 New Fed 1. There you
Good
go.
song on that one.
Well, do they already have the house, or they're looking to get a loan, or they're going out in the market?
Well, sometimes they're driving by. They don't really get qualified ahead of time, and
Right.
maybe they should be. And that's
Of
kind
course.
of the
That's
show, right?
That's
So
probably our first.
they drive by, they see the house for sale, like, I want to buy that house. So,
Right.
So where do you start?
So
Rick?
that's a great question. Our first start is to
Thank you for asking
Thank you
it.
for asking. To start with a team.
Yeah.
So that's we always say that. We always think that it's the same lineal process throughout a closing.
Yep.
But it's when people choose certain professionals to get involved is the key thing. And we've always said you got to get a real estate attorney. You got to get an originator lined up in the beginning. You got to get a home inspector lined up, and you probably got to get an insurance agent lined up. So that it should be all done before the offer stage. I believe.
So, they should really know what their payments are going to be beforehand, what they want to spend, not as opposed to just driving by and seeing what the house is worth and not knowing what the payments are going to be ahead of time.
Well, we talked about this
Can't-
on our
can't
podcast,
qualify, yeah.
right? If you're even thinking about going into the housing market, you should have already sat with New Fed
Yep.
or your lender and got a pre-qualification letter or a pre-approval letter.
Right. No seller's going to take an offer these days unless you have either pre-approval letter or some sort of
Or a
pre-qual.
strong pre-qual. So
Yeah,
there's two schools of thought.
Right.
So a pre-qual and a pre-approval. So pre-approval, in the regulation, by the way, NLS number 20400,
Wow.
New Fed 819, number 1881. You gotta say that
Wow.
when they start
Very
saying
good,
something
Brian.
like that.
We don't quote any licensing numbers on ours.
You don't have to.
Do we need a license?
I'm thinking of getting it. I'm almost there.
But a pre-approval really is. It means it's been reviewed by an underwriter
Right.
in the regulation point of view. A pre-qual letter means that there's a lot of different people that what a pre-qual means. Our pre-qual letters mean that, the loan officer actually looked at the income and assets, ran it through an automated engine, and then issues a pre-qualification letter. If, in fact, they want an underwriter to look at it ahead of time, I mean, we could do the full pre-approval letter, but, we have a pre-approval program, but we really, it's, if, in fact, you see the income and you verify the assets, you verify the income, and you ran it through an automated engine, you have an approval, I mean, that should hold up.
We were talking to one of your originators yesterday, very professional about it, and he was saying, and he won't give a pre-approval or pre-qualification letter unless he really has done his due diligence for his buyer.
Well, that's like tax return. You have to see all the paperwork,
Right.
the tax returns, the W-2s, bank accounts,
Right.
right?
I mean, we're not going to issue a letter without seeing all the income and
Right.
assets. But there are companies out there, a lot of
And that's
out-of-state companies.
what we were just going to say. We see companies that send out, someone will call on the phone and say, all right, can you give me a pre-qual letter?
Yep.
And they go, all right, how much do you make? All right, here's your letter.
Right.
That sellers are catching on to this and brokers catch on to that.
Right. So a pre-approval is probably the way to go.
Well, pre-approval, it just means that, from a regulation point of view, you got to report the pre-approvals, which means that the underwriter has to review it.
Okay.
So really, the idea is that you have a pre-approval. The only thing that's missing is the property.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, the property, and how long is it going to take for that borrower to find a house? Is anything's changed in 60, 90, 120 days?
Right. And things
So-
could change in
things
your
can
financial
change.
status.
Right.
So we come from the school as, our loan officers are very good. They look at the income, they look at the assets, they run through automated engine. If, in fact, it's a tough deal and they want someone to look at it, they can look at it. But we still issue pre-qualification letters today.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But,
Right.
could we open it up to pre-approvals? Absolutely.
So
if someone's requesting a pre-approval letter and they want an underwriter to look at it, we have the ability to do that.
Okay. So the first thing we'd tell a buyer is go get a pre-approval or a pre-qualification.
Right.
So
Right.
be armed and ready when you walk
Right.
into any open
Right.
house
And
or.
And at that point, they know how much they can offer on a piece of property. And you guys are pretty good about credit worthiness, too. You can kind of spot, and maybe you can tell us a little bit how you guys do on that. Because sometimes you guys beforehand know, well, your FICO scores are a little lower.
Well,
than
yeah.
Do you run the credit with the pre-qual letter or no?
Well, yeah. Obviously, you got to run the credit report, right? So you definitely want to see where they stand because the credit might be low. You might want to work with them to get the credit score up so they can get a better rate, better
Okay.
program. So that's why it's important really going early in the process to talk to a loan originator to see where you stand.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's pre-qual letter though. That's kind of what we go with.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And then
right.
if we need to get a pre-approval letter, we have the access to do it. We just there hasn't been a need.
Right.
So our next step after they talk to the originator there, and a lot of people forget this till the very end, but this should be tied in with the lending process too, because you're going to be asking for an insurance policy. So we've had situations where at the very end, 2 or 3 days before a closing, I got to get my insurance policy, just scrambling around. We had an unfortunate situation about 3 or 4 months ago where the guy owned I think it was a pit bull, just trying to get insurance
Right.
at the last second. And they almost said, you're not going to get your insurance policy.
Well, I mean, I think insurance. Let's go back a step, right? So if we could say pre-approval, they find a house, right? And now we're going to purchase and sale.
Yeah.
What does Carter Law do?
Well, this is what
does
Carter-
Carter Law does
this
when they
is
find
what
a house?
Catalar says to do, but people come to us after the fact.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're entering into a contract to buy a particular house, you automatically sign the offer and don't understand that it's binding contract. And we can't stress enough how important that a offer is a binding contract. So
if
whether you
we
get
from my point of
$500
view,
down
But
or
a
not.
purchase and sale, if an offer is binding, then that purchase and sale is really binding.
Right.
Yes.
So to Kathy's point, and that's probably the biggest point we can make of this whole show, they really need to talk to us before they sign that offer because they've now already given the roadmap to what the purchase and sale is going to be. They're already said, how much they're putting down, how much they're offering, if there's any seller concessions, all that's mapped out in the offer.
And whatever they agreed to
Whatever
on
they
different
agreed to
things.
on exclusions, what personal property is staying
seller
there.
No, what if they want the fan to stay? And the
Yeah.
other people say they keep the fan.
Exactly.
Does it get that detailed?
The offer should.
Yep.
Yeah, like the hot tub outside.
Yeah, no,
you know what I
absolutely.
mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
And we always kid about that. So we've seen thousands of purchase sales over the years. I mean, very few offers.
Tens of thousands?
Almost. I was doing the math the other day. 30 years, about
probably.
about 30 a month. Yeah, we're almost at 10,000 there. And
But so our advice is, and this is what I tell all my family and friends, is don't sign anything without us looking at it.
so that's it.
And
We're good. That's
that
if we
show's
get that
over.
point,
See you later.
Thank you. We get that point.
That's also a
Wonderful.
free. Yeah, is that free review if you do the closing?
For Brian Damico, for one time only today, we'll review that offer for free.
For free.
And just for you, new Fed 1-800 new Fed 1
877.
877 new Fed 1. We'll do a purchase sale for you.
Yeah.
How's
For free.
that? For free.
Perfect.
For
So it is a good value because there are some attorneys out there that do charge upwards of upwards of $700.
Oh, I heard a guy the other $3,000.
Well, listen,
Yeah,
listen. Even if you're paying $700, it is a very, very important document, and the attorneys that are trained to review these, their eyes go to specific things, and sometimes there's negotiations that the brokers don't handle, and the buyers and sellers, they rely on the attorneys to handle it. Like, no, I don't want to do this. Well, I don't want to do this. And the attorneys together can kind of come up with a good plan.
Right.
So
So-
there are complicated.
So if I'm driving around right now and I'm saying, I want to buy a house. I found a house I want. I'm going to talk to a loan officer. I'm going to listen to Carter Law, and then what are they? What's so important about the purchase and sale? Why is it so important to review this P&S we call it?
Well, let me tell you the biggest one.
Yes,
So this will be our second biggest point of it.
and I think I know what it is.
Yeah,
Let's see.
It's the mortgage financing clause.
The contingency date.
Exactly right.
All right.
You hit it right on the head. And it's amazing to me how many originators, how many buyers, and how many sellers, brokers don't understand this. So say the the financing date's November 15th. They think it's just some sort of like goal to get to. Right. So, all right, November 15th, the commitment letter shows up, and everyone thinks they're all set.
Right.
And we just had
But
this.
you got to turn to the back page.
Yeah, exactly. So we just had this situation a couple months ago too. November 15th rolls around, commitment letter shows up. There was only one condition on there, to give us the last 6 months of your statements. And what they were really trying to ferret out was that she was getting child support, and they didn't really say that in the commitment letter.
Yeah.
And the child support wasn't consistent.
Right. It was not documented.
It kind of messed up her loan.
So she thought on November, correct. So on November 15th, she goes, I got my commitment letter. I don't need an extension.
Yeah.
People got to understand, if you don't have a firm, unconditional commitment letter, you need to get an
No
extension.
conditions.
No
It's
conditions.
Basically a clear to close.
You're
Right.
Or no borrower to provide conditions at time of commitment letter.
Exactly
The date,
right. Right.
So what happens if they miss that date?
Their deposit's in jeopardy.
Right. So I've seen people that put down as little as $5,000 to as much as $80,000.
Yeah.
And if they don't have that date firmed up,
Right.
It could be gone.
It could
Right.
be gone.
And everyone says, "Oh no, you already have your commitment letter." Well, no, it's. And I have right in our so when you ask what's important about that purchase sale, it's the language in our purchase sale that we put in there that commitment letter has to be a firm, unconditional.
Right. So
commitment
going back
letter.
to that example, 6 months of bank statements, they didn't really say why they needed the 6 months.
Correct.
But
Right.
that's 6 months. That's when a loan officer would call the agent or the attorney that's
Yeah.
involved and call
Yeah.
that real estate agent asking for an extension.
Right.
And
Right.
how do you guys go about getting
Well, it's funny 'cause,
extensions?
But that's another reason to have an attorney involved, because
Right.
they're watching those dates. They have ticklers in their system,
Right.
and they're
Right.
watching those dates. And more times than not, nobody's called us, and Rick's
Right.
like, the commitment's due on
Right.
whichever file, and
Yeah,
he's
right.
the one reaching out
Right.
and asking everybody.
And we're noticing that more and more now, where I don't know if it's the millennials and they don't.
Blame
Don't blame
everything.
Don't blame the millennials.
I know.
I'm
All
not
right,
a millennial.
blame
I'm
them
not
on
a
everything.
millennial,
All right,
but
I'm
don't blame the
going to
millennials.
say every buyer we have then. How's that? in any age bracket, they no longer seem to want to get involved. That I'll send over purchase sales and say, all right, do you have any questions? I want them to know what they're signing. Obviously, I can help them out with all the legalese there, but they just don't get involved. They don't call me on November 15th and say, oh, I didn't get my
It's
financing.
Rick calling them and
I'm
saying,
calling
have you
them.
seen your commitment
Well, that's
letter?
why it's important to have a team, right?
Right.
So,
Exactly.
so if you work, if a loan officer works with a realtor and we all kind of have an attorney, a realtor, and a loan officer, when these people work all well together, you're not going to have those issues.
Right,
because they're on
right,
top of it.
exactly. So on November, to answer your question, on November 14th, I say, or a couple days before, are you all set? Well, yeah, I'm all set. This is the answer I always get. I have my commitment letter. I go, any conditions on it? Well, yeah, a couple. So what I do is just merely fire off an email to the seller's attorney, say, listen, we need a couple-day extension, and it's almost that easy.
So by putting that email out there and saying we need the extension, that kind of protects you.
Yep.
It
Right.
says, hey, we asked for it.
Right,
You know,
right.
We told you that if we didn't get it by the end of the day,
Right.
you know, take the offer off the table.
Right,
type of thing,
exactly.
just to protect the deposit.
Right, and that's another reason you have a real estate attorney do that purchase and sale, because in the original purchase and sale, I tell them that an email is good enough for notice to that seller's attorney.
See, now, you know, if you're a borrower out there and you listen to this, a lot of times the borrower comes and says, I want to use my own attorney.
Yeah.
Well, I have a story. Someone used their own attorney. I'm like, yeah, no problem.
Oh, yeah.
We got the, well, today it's called a CD. Before it's called a HUD. We
Right.
got the HUD back in pencil.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
Oh,
come
yeah.
to find out,
So
he
not a
wasn't a real
yeah.
estate attorney.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Well, and that's the thing about attorneys is,
Yes.
yes, they have the smarts, but they don't. if you're not in this real estate world, you're missing the little idiosyncrasies that we
Right.
have every day of the
Right.
week.
Right,
right,
right.
like if I'm going to get divorced or anything like that, I'm not going to go to Rick. Rick's a real estate
Right,
attorney.
smart
Right,
guy.
right,
You know what I mean? Right. So,
Right.
I mean, if you're going
Brian, if you go to me, if you have any criminal activity and you're coming to me,
I'm not going to Rick.
you better bring your orange jumpsuit and your toothbrush, because you're probably going away for a little while, all right?
There's a different
But once
attorney
you
for
get
every-
out, I can get you a nice new house, all right?
Right. Well, that's the thing. Real estate attorneys, it's like
Right.
going to a doctor. You're
It's
not
a
gonna,
niche.
You know, it's
Right,
definitely a niche, and you got to make sure that, you know, if you have an attorney you're trying to refer to, make sure that you
Right.
real
No, it's a
estate
great
well.
point.
I mean, that's-
Because some people do real estate and half court work, which I don't know how you can do.
Well, then you're out of the office.
You're out of the
a
office.
lot.
Is that all this common law does? Is real estate?
That's all we
all
do.
real estate, yeah.
All real estate.
Yep, all
Okay.
real estate there. So, but that's the big things in the purchase and sales, is to make sure you're keeping an eye on the financing date. And there's also some nuances there that a lot of underwriters like to see, that I think we're privy to, that maybe the non-real estate attorneys don't like to see. I'll give you a quick little example. If there's personal property left with the sale, you don't want that. Shouldn't be for any consideration. That actually should be left as gifts, as a mutual convenience between buyer and seller.
Personal property.
With
Personal
no
property.
value.
With no value,
Yeah.
because that's gonna affect-
important.
That's important. That's going to affect the loan. Some people stress about things in the purchase sale too much. There, they always say, "Well, it's closing at 10 o'clock at the registry." You know, relax. That's
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah, like I noticed that you know, good loan officers will pick up on the purchase and sale that, you know, it says that they, you know, you have to fix the doorway
Yes,
around you know,
yes.
around the hallway or something like
right, right,
that. And they want to put that in the purchase and sale. I mean,
right.
if you do that, it's going to require another appraisal,
Right.
a second
Correct.
appraisal to make sure it was done. When really you should just get it done. Right?
Just get
I
it
mean,
done.
Just get it done.
Yeah, get it done. Or another good point. Sometimes if there are home inspection issues like that, and there's a closing cost credit, the seller says, "Forget it. I'm not even going to do it. Why don't you just I'll give you a closing cost credit on your end and Kathy's end at the end of the closing." All that stuff has to be disclosed to the lender, because you don't want that messing up
Well, and you
underwriting.
can't come up with a seller, like, 5 weeks into the deal, you can't come up with the seller's going to give me $2,000.
Right,
Well, guess
right.
what? It has to go back to underwriting.
Right.
Or
right.
you know what? I thought I needed to bring $50,000 to the closing.
Right.
I only bring 35. I'd like to lower my loan amount.
Right.
Yep.
Do you know, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but from our end and from NewFed's end, it's a pretty big deal.
Yes.
Because it has to start
basically
start
called
over again.
Change of circumstance, right?
Right.
So it's in the
Right.
process. You got to change. You got to realize what the change happened. Make sure that everything stays the same besides the loan amount. You may have to redisclose.
So
get that
maybe
paperwork.
collectively
And
we could.
certainly we can get it done. We
Right.
can get it
Oh, yeah.
done.
No,
but
we
I think
just
the
had one.
biggest thing in our team is the communication. And
Right.
I think that, we work well with NewFed and we have a lot of
Yes, guys do.
communication.
Right.
And
You guys do a great job.
you guys do too. And so that's what why it works is because
Kathy only likes to work with NewFed now.
Yeah.
She's been with me for 30 years. She's being very selective on who she wants to deal with now.
She likes to work with Aaron in the closing department.
yeah,
Exactly.
me and Aaron are
And Wendy,
buds.
two things. Rick, can you just slide your mic up a little bit? It's rubbing against your shirt. And my
Absolutely.
other question is, if you have a lot of changes to the PNS, does that affect your credit? Does your credit have to keep being rerun to
Mr. Jonathan.
Jonathan, our master engineer,
No.
the man behind the scenes.
Jonathan,
here.
ask that question again. I right?
So
'Cause-
you guys were talking about changes to the PNS and how it's like you're going to start over.
Yep.
Does that mean you then have to go ahead and rerun someone's credit? And does that affect their credit score by checking their credit over and over?
No, I mean, I'm coming from the school of thought. If the deal was already in, we're going to change it, and once it's in process. But if they're changing the deal before it comes in process, then that's going to take. You basically have some time to make that purchase and sale the way you want, right? I mean,
Yeah.
going even back a further step, right? They get they're going to sign the offer. They have 10 days to do a home inspection, and then the purchase and sale comes, right? So
Correct.
that's
Yeah.
because you're gonna want to go do the home inspection and see if you want to negotiate any of the terms because of what they found in the home inspection.
And to Jonathan's point there, a good point is people should know that you do check credit right up to the last second, right?
Yeah. So
What is it, the day before?
no. So 10 days before
Okay.
before closing, you have to run what's called a refresh credit
Okay.
on conventional loans.
Okay.
So if in fact that they started buying a lot of furniture, right, it's gonna pop up, and it doesn't really necessarily check their credit score again, but it just shows what their liabilities are. If there's a huge increase, you just got to know why. A lot of times it doesn't matter if there's a small increase, or
But if they're tight, if their ratios are tight to begin with, it could throw off the deal.
it could throw off the
If
deal.
they decide to buy a new car,
Right.
2
Well,
days
yeah,
before.
we definitely stress don't do anything different
Yeah.
once you're in process, because that's how we qualified you.
So, Brian, we could sit here all day long with horror stories. So here's one more, and you've probably heard of this one there. The girl was very close to being qualified or not. So excited she got her commitment letter.
Yeah.
Everything
And was this at New Fed or somewhere else?
somewhere else?
Okay.
'Cause this would never happen. New Fed 1877 New Fed 1. This would
There you
never
go.
happen. And this is the other reason you want to talk to the originator in the very beginning. But this girl was very excited. Got her house. Got her commitment letter. X amount of days from the closing. Goes down to a major furniture store in the North Shore area who gives out credit very easily. Got $25,000 worth of furniture for the new 2 or 3 rooms
Okay.
she now has. No longer qualified for the loan.
Ooh.
Yes. So that's probably another reason to have.
That's that's a good tip for
Yeah.
anyone listening. The
Right.
other one is we had somebody quit their job, didn't we?
Oh yeah. Oh, someone
That
you
happens.
like this, Brian. They were calling to verify, and the person on the other line said, "Oh, she no longer works here."
Yeah.
So
So they thought they were on the home,
yes.
Right.
yes.
So
Home
towards
stretch.
the end, I mean, this is coming in the front door, right? You have all these P&S, the contingency
Yeah.
date, making sure you qualify, and then throughout the process, you get your commitment letter, and then once you are committed and approved, you have that little window of time where once that loan is clear to clear, that's a famous word, clear to close.
Clear to close, right?
It then
My
goes to the
favorite.
closing division, right? And that's
Yep.
when they, we're going to run the.
But do they call in? Don't they do double check on the verification of employment, like 48
Yeah,
hours?
so you also need to have a verification of employment in the file 48 hours, right? So,
yeah.
So I mean, it's really just a phone call. Hey, does so and so still work there? And
Yeah.
what's your name? What's your position? And you just kind of run it down, which 9 times out of 10.
Well, hopefully 10 out of 10 they're still there.
Yeah, I mean, but we have
It's
seen some people,
happened.
and we have seen people move jobs right at that time. Jeez, you should tell us you move jobs.
Right.
So I mean, it's not that we can't work it out. It's just not smooth. If you waited a few more days, it would have been fine. But now you just gotta, and that's why some of the times you don't close on time.
Right.
So, and it has nothing to do with, that we're twiddling our thumbs, just playing dots in the back.
Right.
It's because something happened, and we
Right.
need to address it. And the good real estate agents know that, hey, look, this is what happened. Oh, okay, I get it.
Right.
But some of them just like, you didn't close on time.
Oh yeah.
I'm never referring to the other person to you again.
Right.
And even if you tell them, hey, they bought a car,
Right.
3 days
They
ago.
quit
Right,
their
right,
job.
right,
It
right.
doesn't matter because it's directly on the loan officer.
Yeah.
Because that he shouldn't have let that happen. He controls everything. I mean, it's kind of the industry, right?
And you two alluded to it earlier. Maybe we could clarify that a little bit. It's not like the old days where things could get approved that day and all of a sudden you're closing that day.
No, yeah, there's a process.
Now you're more regulated, and Kathy deals with it a lot on her end from our office, and obviously on your end there. But don't certain disclosures have to get out at a certain time?
Yeah. So timing's
No-
very important. Right?
Very.
So I mean, it's when you have an application, you have to disclose that within 3 business days.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
They have to have the disclosures in their hands.
Yep.
And then the other, I mean, really it's the loan estimate. That's really what you're going to get from a mortgage perspective. You're going to look at a loan estimate, and they came up with this document because they thought it was easier
Yeah.
Then the good faith
than the
estimate.
good faith
yeah.
estimate.
Which is
And it's easy
ultimately
to
called
shop.
a closing
And it's not-
disclosure.
and it has the APR and it has all the terms on it, which is it
For
took
another
away
show, we'll talk about how to
it's
calculate
compliance.
an APR. How's that?
But your
Show
loan
off.
officer, your loan officer will kind of go over that with you. Even though everything's kind of e-sign these days, when you get that e-sign and you open up the document, you just call your loan officer and any questions you have, you just go through it.
And listen, the system that they
Easy.
have in place now, like we work with a lot of your loan officers. They know what our fees are. They
Right.
know what the title insurance fees are. They know what a typical. And if they don't, they call us.
Right.
They say, "What about this or what about that?" So
Well, like New
we're on
Hampshire.
the same page.
New Hampshire's got tax stamps.
Yeah,
right?
that a
That's
lot of
what
loan
they're-
officers
Right.
forget.
Right.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
right. You're right. A lot of people forget that. Someone's
Yeah.
selling in Massachusetts.
That stopped a closing before.
Oh, yeah. So in Massachusetts, you get
I'll
hit
give you
up.
another story that just
Yep.
happened recently. But a realtor called us. She's a really good realtor, and she was upset that a loan officer didn't close on time. And come to find out, this woman was married 4 times, and
Oh, yeah.
and I said, well, it's really not the loan officer's fault. I mean, he doesn't ask, hey, how many times were you married?
Right,
I mean, she's
right.
older and her kids
Yeah,
are grown. It wouldn't be a question that you would think to ask. How many times were you
Right.
married?
Right.
It's not something on the application.
And people don't think, why would it really matter? My
Right,
personal
'cause
life, right?
There's no alimony, there's no child support,
Right.
there's nothing like that. But the realtor's like, well, how come he didn't know this up front? Well, and how did you guys find out? So, we run a fraud guide and it has variations of names.
Right.
And the question is, could you just provide a letter of explanation of your last 3 or 4 last names?
4 marriages. Yeah.
And that's when it popped up. So, and that's why it's important to be very truthful to your
Yeah,
loan
you got to
officer.
be upfront. in the
Say, look,
beginning.
this is what you're going to find, or a lot of times they
But
won't tell you that they're paying alimony or child support, and we find that out later in the process.
Right.
Because we're gonna find
We've seen it too, halfway in the process there, where it got derailed because he was in a first-time home buyer program and didn't tell anyone he had already owned a house.
Oh, and it was short-sailed.
Yeah, it was short sale.
So for everybody out there, short sale is selling your house for less than what you owe.
Yeah, exactly. So he's
So
already
the-
showed the lender before that
So
he's going to default
so
on
the
it.
lender calls and says, "Did you have a delinquent mortgage that you never paid and it was
Yeah,
short-sailed or whatnot?" And
Oh, yeah.
oh yeah.
So you're not a first-time home buyer. And then this guy was just a beauty. He didn't tell him he was married before. Presently married
Presently.
with child support from another marriage. So yeah, he was just a train
And
wreck
that stuff comes out
Right.
later.
It does.
And
the
it's
sooner
tough.
we know about it, the sooner you guys know about it, the
Right.
sooner we know about it,
Right.
the better off
Here's a-
everyone
And that's
is.
why I think that when you go, if you have a underwriter just review the income and assets, the pre-approval, I mean, it doesn't really pre-qual versus
Right.
pre-approval.
Right.
As long as you know that your loan officer is doing the right thing, which
Yep.
9 times out of 10 they are.
Yep.
And they see the income and assets, that's still going to pop up after the fact because it's not really going through your whole
Right.
process because
Right.
you don't have property yet.
Right,
Right.
right, right. So, I mean, to that point, we always try to, you asked what we talked about to our buyers in the very beginning. We always say, you got to get the stuff as quick as possible. And what they say on there is really what you should do. Here's another quick little example. We had one guy who they asked for a statement, a bank statement. And the statement was 12 pages. 11 pages had everything on there. The 12th page was blank. And he said, all right, I'll just send in 11 pages there. The underwriter kicked that back.
I need the 12th page.
It says 11 out of 12. What do you not?
Right.
You're not hiding. You're hiding something from us on the 12th page there. And he thought that was very, again, it wasn't new Fed, but he was very annoyed by that. It's a blank page. This is slowing me down, but underwriter just wants to see. Just do what they ask,
Right.
And you can't. We had one of your originators on our show at one point there, and the grandmother was coaching the kid and said,
Right.
"Oh, you don't have
You
to
don't-
do
yeah.
that. You don't need that.
So-
I didn't have to do that when I bought." Yeah,
So
yeah.
what's our tip? If you get a commitment letter and there are 20 conditions on that back page, you got to go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and you have to turn in the paperwork.
Right.
Because that's the
Right.
only way you're getting the loan.
Right.
Right?
Quickly. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to. I mean, speed is everything, right? So
Right.
I mean, if you give
Right.
everything up front,
So take a half day off from work and get it
Right.
done. Because
Right.
these people say,
Right.
I work,
Right.
and
we're
I
seeing
don't
that
have
lately
access.
too, Brian.
I don't have access
Can we just
to my
share
bank.
all our
are we
tough
talking
stories?
about millennials again?
No, everyone.
No, this one was a millennial. We'll
Well,
talk.
millennials are very good getting paperwork. What I find is
Oh,
they
yeah.
have everything on
On their-
PDF. They send
yeah.
everything to you PDF. It's nice and easy, versus
We don't mean to
I mean-
goof on millennials. This girl happened to be a millennial. She came in. She was really entitled. She was just a train wreck.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She says, oh, you need the money today for the closing? We go, well, you're buying
yeah.
a house.
What part of our email you need a big check payable to yourself in the
well,
amount
the
of...
big part of first time home buyers is the millennial market. So you know what I mean?
I know.
And the
No, we
millennials-
love millennials.
We're not. No. Anyone who's
It
a
sounds
millennial should be calling New Fed
I
Mortgage.
have millennials.
Oh, we all
yeah.
have millennials. That's probably
That's
why.
why
That's
we
probably
don't
why.
like
See, I don't have millennials, so
Oh, yeah,
that's
yeah.
why.
Yeah.
I'm friendly to millennials.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, that's absolutely. You have a lot.
No,
of
but they really are. They're tech savvy,
Yes.
and they've learned everything through the internet. They know
Yes.
a lot
Yeah.
more
Yes.
than a typical buyer.
Yes.
They know about mortgage insurance. They know about different things
Yep.
to what's
Yeah.
about. So I mean, they're very, much more educated because
yes.
of the digital revolution,
Right.
That's
Right. Right.
internet.
Right.
So how much time can be saved if you put together your dream team? And I'm still learning about this. I'm new to
Yes.
this. So as I understand it, you have an attorney, a loan originator, home inspector, real estate agent. Am I missing anyone?
Typically 2 real estate agents, a seller's
It's
agent
a seller's
and a
agent
buyer's.
selling that house. And then
But if
there's
I'm the
buyer's
buyer,
agent,
I just
yep.
need my agent.
Yes.
Yep.
Right.
Correct.
So
Yep.
how much money is saved? How much time rather is saved by having this dream team put together beforehand versus trying to piecemeal it afterward?
Well, when we talk about time, it's really it's still up to that borrower to supply all the documentation. If they give all the documentation, I mean, I've seen deals close in 12 to 15 days just because they gave all the information up front. Really, the biggest piece that you're waiting for when it comes to time is the appraisal and the title order. And the title order is very quick with Carter Law because
course.
as soon as we order it, they're getting us back. And how long do we usually get the title order?
Well, it depends on which registry, but we're turning them around as quick as you guys need us to turn them around.
Right.
So
So-
if you need it in a day, we get it in a day.
Right.
Pulling some strings, but
But if we call them up and say, hey, we need title order tomorrow, we're getting that title order tomorrow.
Yeah,
9 times out of
typically.
10.
So also to expound on what Jonathan's saying there, not only are you saving probably time having this team, I think what you're saving is a lot of legal ramifications if you don't get this team in early.
Peace of mind. I mean,
Peace
you
of
save a lot of
mind.
peace of mind.
Everything's
because you have-
tight. Everything's
Everything's
tighter on
tight.
the deal.
You're not missing
Right.
deadlines.
well, and the other thing with the team is if Brian's calling me, I'm picking up the phone and calling Brian back or answering his phone call and vice versa. And so it must be important if you're calling me to get the job done or whatever. It's kind of a, you know what I mean? So we
Right.
all work well together. So that's where you save time.
Think of it this way, Jonathan, right? So say the borrower picked their own attorney, which they can do, right? But am I going to text that guy at 9 at night and say, hey, did
No.
you get the? I mean, we work kind of around the clock. And, banks and, banking hours, that's kind of a whole thing. Banking hours is like, what, 9 to 5?
Sure.
Don't open on Saturdays and Sundays. So, I mean, typically our branches are open Saturdays and Sundays, but we're all working Saturdays and Sundays.
I was calling Brian last weekend. Beautiful day, and I had a marketing idea. I'm texting it off. He's
I'm like,
texting right
on
back
Sunday.
to me.
It was like on Sunday.
So Rick, relax.
So right, so that's
Right.
the beauty of working with people that you know and that you trust and that
Right.
you know is going to get the job done. So
Yeah.
that's where you save the time, Jonathan. Is when everybody
Time,
works well
aggravation,
together.
you're saved
Yeah.
by having this group together and just the knowledge. Yeah.
One other dumb question from
Yeah.
a rookie. Are you guys, as real estate attorneys and this dream team, is it more needed by somebody who has credit issues, slow credit, alimony payments, problems, we'll say, or somebody that
Is
just...
this a hypothetical, Jonathan, or?
I'm asking for a friend, Rick.
Jonathan, everyone deserves the dream team, no matter who you are.
No, everyone has their own unique situation there. So someone might have divorce issues, but I think everyone needs this dream team together just to keep an eye on dates. It doesn't matter if you have 800 credit
Whether
score,
it's an
doesn't matter,
easy
right?
closing
Easy loan
or a hard
closed loan.
closing. Right.
It's still a legal document. So,
Right.
it's a legal document. You want to make sure it's reviewed and everyone understands it. Everyone's on the same page.
You want the fixtures in there, like we talked about. It doesn't matter what your credit scores are on that. So I think anyone buying should have this team put together.
You did one for me just not too long ago, and we needed estoppel certificates.
Oh yeah,
So
you
what's
like that
what's
one?
an estoppel certificate?
You were impressed by that.
I remember passing the real estate test. I knew what it was. I go,
I think I'm the only attorney that uses an estoppel certificate. It's very common in a commercial loan, but an estoppel certificate, we'll talk about that at another show. But
he's showing off again.
I'm showing off. No, I'll show you how to calculate the APR right now. But yeah, the estoppel certificate, we'll talk about that at a later time. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of wealth.
Getting back to so the whole process, we went through the process, and then now they're, the commitment letter, everything is fine. Everything is cleared off in time. Everything's good. Now the loan goes to clear to close, and now you're going to get your CD at least 3 business days in advance.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So that's the time when you see what you cash to close. That's what you can expect.
The exact
3
cash
days.
to close.
3
Right.
days after.
Yeah.
So when you get that closing, and this was a good thing by the regulators that they
I
came
think
up with.
so too.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
We
there was
like
a lot of scrambling around. No one knew what to bring
Right.
to closing because
Right.
everything was a
Right.
rush.
Well, it stopped.
Right.
It stopped the phone calls at an hour
Right.
before the closing. We'd get the closing package. We'd call them and they'd say, $8,000. I don't have $8,000.
Yeah.
So it really has stopped a lot of the panic for the buyer at the end because
Right.
it's all out there on paper at the very beginning, mostly because you guys are pretty much hitting it pretty
Yep.
accurate at the very beginning.
So we send them that, and it has to be accurate because if you disclose on a loan estimate and you see major difference on the CD,
You can't do it,
Can't do
right?
it,
You got to
right.
redisclose.
you got to
and
redisclose it, and you really can't.
So nothing
it has
changes.
to make sense,
right?
Nothing changes. So, so having that CD, you have to sign it 3 days before to prove that you got it. Now you can do e-sign, but you have to return the CD, 3 days before closing.
Right.
That means that
Important.
you read it.
Right.
You can click a button that says I read it,
Right.
I'm good. Or if a lot of times people aren't really good on email, we'll send it to them or we'll go by the house. I just got to sign it 3 days before closing.
Because
And
we
that's
can't
big.
close unless
you have
that's
it
right.
3 days. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
And that's
So-
a federal law, so
Right,
it's not like
exactly,
we
exactly.
can get. There's no way around it.
right. And then we finally get to the closing.
Yay!
Yeah, we've made
Closing.
it.
And that's where that's where you shine. Is where
Oh,
all
I'm
the
a star.
Well,
all the
yeah,
people
they
come
usually-
in, there's dancing
yeah.
people.
This is-
Oh, we used to have limos bring people to the closing, but we found out they were drinking on the way in.
So
I'm
we're
not
doing
sure
all
how
the
legal we
work.
are.
Rick Carter walks
Oh, yeah.
in. Everybody's happy, and we're like,
Here we
"You get all
go.
the accolades."
Here we go. She told me not to fight, and here we are. Well, we just made it through the whole show. But it's right. So they
We
do
do all the
they do
work.
95% of the work, and then I pull in because
Yeah.
attorneys are supposed to still do closings in Massachusetts.
True.
So I'm doing the closing. They say, "Well, where's Kathy Holtshouser?" They look a little disappointed. I say, "Hey."
Then they always say, "You know what? You should give her a raise. She does
Oh,
such
yeah,
a good job."
So you're not an attorney though, right?
No.
So you can't do
She
the closing.
plays one.
In
Yes.
New Hampshire, I can do closing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Anyone can, right?
So yeah, everyone, Kathy gets us to the closing. I do the closing, so I make sure the person brings in that cashier's check, and that cashier's check should be drawn on a bank that you guys have verified those deposits
Right.
on.
So in New Hampshire, you just need to be a notary, right? Is that
Yeah.
how it works? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Live
interesting.
free or die up here, Brian.
Yeah, there's only like 9 states in the country that make you.
We're
have an
fighting hard
attorney.
for it. Yeah, exactly. Get a look at us because you're gonna still continue to work with us. So
So the closing happens, and is that typically a fun day? I mean, how many
Yes.
people show up
It's
at
a
the closing?
great day.
everyone shows up. Although we're seeing more of a, it seems more customary lately where the sellers are not showing up. It's the seller's attorney showing up. To be honest with you, sometimes I do advise sellers not to show up. They blurt some things at closing that
Right.
they
Right,
shouldn't
that
be
they
blurting.
shouldn't. Yeah.
So I say, I'll go on your
Like
behalf.
the leak in the pool liner.
Oh, I've had them all there. Oh,
Yeah, some closings last longer than others.
Oh,
right? I know you had
unbelievable.
one not too long ago. You
Oh.
were there
oh yeah.
I think at least 4 hours, right?
Oh yeah. Oh,
Oh,
we've had some of their beauties there. Yeah, I've gotten lunch and dinner during the closing there. But we always tell people at a closing really should be nothing to it. It really should only
There
be a
should
half
be no
hour.
negotiation.
Should be nothing.
You know your rate. You
Right,
know
you're
your
right.
fees.
Right,
You know
right,
how much money you need
exactly,
to bring.
exactly.
You've already
So-
hashed out all the problems. It's
Right.
literally sign and
Right.
go.
So people leave and they say, "Geez, that's it to it." Yeah, because everything's already taken care of at this point. There. So
Right.
so if the closing is run effectively as it should, you should be in
Well, if you
30,
have the
30
dream
minutes.
team.
40
You have the
Right.
dream team
Yes.
going in.
Right.
Yeah.
Dream team.
Yep.
And
No, I
buyers
like
should
that.
remember that they can't move right in right away. They have to make sure the deed gets recorded for insurance purposes there. So we
Right.
get that a lot. Well, can I move in right now? Do I get my keys? So, no, you got to wait at least till it gets recorded. So
And do you record is it through the internet or do you
Yep.
do you have a
electronically
runner?
now.
It's
Yeah.
electronic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
E-file, it's
Yeah.
called. It's the best.
It is
So
the
what's
best.
the cutoff time to get recorded?
Depends on the registry.
Depends on the registry.
Well,
yeah.
like Middlesex South, if you get in line at 3 o'clock, you're not going to get on record on a Friday
Right.
afternoon. But Lowell, Middlesex North, yes.
But if you're doing it through the internet, you still have to be.
You're in line.
You're in line.
Yeah,
for the internet.
electronically.
Oh, electronically in line.
Here's our strategy for Middlesex South. And
Yeah.
we love them too, because
Yeah.
I know you close loans for them too. But we actually physically bring that down instead of electronically filing.
Because we know from past experience
If we
that
send-
one
right.
of four,
Right. If we send
we're
it in
sweating it out.
at 12 o'clock,
Yep.
they might not get it on because they take their time. So instead, it's more productive for us just to drive
And in
down
their
there.
defense, they're probably one of the biggest counties in
Yes.
Massachusetts
Yeah.
and the busiest county in Massachusetts.
Right.
So they're
Right.
just always busy.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
every other registry is pretty quick.
Right, exactly.
Is there a better day of the week to schedule a close?
Yes,
Another
stay
good
away from
That's a good question,
Friday.
Miss Jonathan, because typically everyone closes the last day of the month.
You know, Jonathan's
And-
not just some cigar smoking person behind the scenes here. This wizard's doing pretty good with the questions
No,
here.
Wednesday or Thursday are a great day to close.
Wednesday, Thursday.
Is it better to close at the end of the month?
That's a
It
good
doesn't
question.
matter.
Okay, there you
Why
go.
doesn't it matter?
Because every day that you own that house, you'll be paying a per diem interest. So if you're short on upfront funds, the end of the month is a perfect idea. But if you close, but then your first mortgage payment is going to be 30
So
days.
you're not
from
saving
then.
any money.
You're not saving money. It's just a matter of cash flow.
But
Robbing Peter to pay Paul, so to speak.
That's
Yes.
right. But there's a perception, and that's why everyone wants to close at the end of the month, that they save a ton of money. So that
I've had one just recently where they want to close on the 30th, even though it was scheduled for the 8th. And the reason is they didn't want to make their next rent payment.
Right. Well,
Okay.
and that I was just thinking that.
Yeah, that-
But,
So,
I mean, they were scheduled to close in, 40 days.
Right,
But now
right,
they're
right.
jumping it for another,
oh,
another-
for scheduling purposes, yeah, it makes sense for landlord-tenant issues.
well, and I get the end of August, right? You
Yeah.
want to get the kids in the new school system.
Right,
and
right,
There's a bunch
exactly.
of reasons, or the end of June, you're waiting for school to let out, or so there's a bunch of different reasons. But the reason that people think that they're saving money
Yeah,
to
in the
close at the end of the
Yeah.
month is silly.
Right.
yeah, I love
right.
seeing when the purchase and sale says closing on the 15th.
Yes.
Because
yeah.
you're not cramming
Yes,
everything.
And you know what? A lot more people are closing. We find that the 15th and the
Yeah.
30th are our busiest days, and typically
Right.
a Friday because
Right.
then they want to move on the weekend.
Right.
So
Sure, they got plenty of work to do when they move
Plenty
in,
of. So
right?
Kathy works very hard on the 15th and 30th of every
And then
month.
what do you do
no
for the
matter-
rest of the month?
I would say
I
she
get
probably works
right.
hardest on the 14th and the 29th.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
I
yes.
work very hard.
Very hard. I
Most
know.
of the days.
I know. We're on radio and podcast, so you have
So
to
don't
say
fight
this.
it.
Yeah.
So then you close, and then what do you have to watch out for after you close?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
Besides
there's-
the
no,
deed,
that's
I mean,
good.
You gotta make sure you record.
There are a couple scams going out there. Well,
Yeah.
one's probably not a scam, but one they always say, all right, for $99, there's some company out there that says for $99 we're going to send you your deed. So
Oh yeah. So don't ever do that
Don't
if
ever
you're
do that.
watching.
All right, so we'll give you a good tip. If you're in Massachusetts, all you have to do is if you want to copy a deed, first of all, you just ask the closing attorney. Or secondly, if you just forget it, you just go on Mass Land Records, put
And
in
you can
your
find
registry that you live in and put your name in, and you can get a copy of a deed for no cost.
And honestly, if you really want your deed, just call us.
Right,
We'll
exactly.
get it for you. It's
Oh.
that simple.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's also, I see after they close, there's some marketing scams. Really, it
Yep.
makes it look like it's coming from us,
Right.
but they're asking to get
Right.
credit life insurance. I
Yep.
mean, that's not coming from us, but
that's
they
a good
make
point.
it look like,
Right,
you
right, right.
closed here,
Right,
you
right.
need credit life insurance, and that's something.
Well,
that
and they pick that up from the Registry of Deeds.
Right.
Yeah.
They're trolling the Registry of Deeds, and they're getting your name,
Right.
and then they send
And the
it
other
in.
thing they troll for is they say, all right, New Fed just did this loan. I'm going to email or write to Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Your new servicer is so-and-so.
Right.
So start sending us checks here. I haven't heard that one in a while, so don't be real horrified
Right.
about that
Yeah.
one.
Oh yeah,
but-
there's some wire schemes going
Oh,
on.
there's a ton
yes.
of wire
Yeah.
We need
scams.
to be very, very diligent on our wire.
Exactly. And at closing, I know we're probably running out of time. A couple quick points in Massachusetts. These are probably for other shows. Make sure you do get owner's title insurance. It is optional, but I think you should get it. We see all the time.
Well, and it's a one-time premium for the lifetime
For the
that you own
lifetime.
the
Yeah.
lifetime that you own the house. You're gonna pay
Just
it
tell
at the
people what
closing.
owner's title insurance is.
It covers if there's a defect in your
Like
title.
a problem with a
Like,
discharge.
for example, if there's
A missing heir in an estate
Right.
back in the 50,
Yeah.
in the 50, we do a 50-year title search. If there's a missing heir or a fraudulent signature or a missing discharge, or it's,
Right.
it's honestly, it's a peace of mind for
so
the
the
amount
lender's
of money.
required to
Yeah.
get it. So you can
Lender's
piggyback
title
that
insurance
policy, right?
Lender's title insurance is required, so
Required.
we do that. But owners is optional, but
Right.
it's for the lifetime. Like say, for
Exactly.
example, there's a shed and it's on, right on the plot line, right on the plot plan line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's a
Encroachment.
encroachment, that
Yeah.
also protects against that, right?
Yeah.
If you had to have it go to
Yeah.
If you
Depending
get
on the language on the
you-
policy,
right.
right?
you have to-
That's
Depending on what title insurance
that's the attorney
company,
side on it. Read your policy.
Right,
But yeah,
right.
if
But
you get an
we-
Eagle policy,
Yeah, we have a
enhanced policy.
enhanced policy. Like we have access to those as well. But the thing of it is if you're bringing you're putting $50,000 into this home, and you're balking at $600 or $700 or $800 owner's policy premium, you're bringing it to the closing. You're putting your owner's policy away, never to see it again until you go to sell your house, and they say, you know what, you can't sell. You have a huge.
And people
title
say,
problem.
"Oh, how often does that happen?"
It
we
happens
deal
all the
about
time.
we deal
it
about
happens. I know.
10 a
Right.
week
It
in our
happens
office.
all the time.
Right. I'm leaving.
How much
here
is
to-
buys? So is it like $1.50 per thousand, or is it
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's $2 per thousand. I don't know
per
Yeah.
thousand?
Yeah.
So it's $2 per
That's-
$1,000 spent. So I mean,
Right.
is that on the loan amount or the purchase price?
on the purchase
On the
price,
purchase
but it
price.
piggybacks off the loan, so it's just the differential between the two. But the other point is, if you buy a $500,000 home and you're selling it for $1 million, it has that inflationary rider.
Right,
it's
because
a-
you're buying at the time you bought the house, not what it's worth
right.
in the future.
So it's definitely, I would say about 98% of the people coming through our office
Yeah, I mean it's an important thing to have.
Gets
I mean,
owner's
I-
title
I get it
insurance.
personally. I mean, I would not get it. I mean,
What if you
it's-
own the home but you don't own the land that the home is on? Like, for example, my dream is to own a double wide. So I would own the building itself, but I would be renting or leasing the property.
Yeah, you have.
there's no title
Right.
insurance.
You'd have to own the property there.
Why is your dream? I just gotta understand. Why do you want to own a double wide?
The cost of living.
The cost of
Brings
living.
it
So
right
you're
down.
like a minimalist.
Exactly.
I gotcha.
Oh, I love
And the s-
minimalists.
I'm only saying double wide because I'm not sure if they really make single wides, but I'd rather that a single wide and extra short.
Jonathan, you're a rock and roll fan. Are you a Kid Rock fan?
Yes, I am.
Read about him. He just
He-
bought a double wide.
He owns
minimalist.
about 12 double rides. He
Yeah.
wraps them all in real tree
Yeah.
and takes out his own trash, and his wife does the dishes. He has
Yeah.
no people taking care of his stuff.
Kid
He
Rock
just,
does this.
Yeah, when he's
I knew I
close
liked
enough to a spot, he just stays at his own double wide.
That's our next show. Let's talk rock and roll for our next
Well,
hour.
let's talk about
Minimalism.
minimalism. I
We
love
can do
that
that.
subject.
Yeah.
I could probably live right here in the
Oh.
podcast
Oh,
cafe.
I thought we all did. We've been here every day
It
this
feels
week.
like it.
Put up a little TP.
Oh
Get
yeah,
the nitro.
Coffee right here.
Yeah, caffeine.
I like it.
Well, with that, I think we hit everything, Mr. Jonathan. What do you think?
I think so.
Do you have any other questions besides the?
I think we got to get an application for Jonathan. He's ready to sign,
Well, I don't know. I think the minimum loan amount might hurt.
and the double wide might hurt.
We'll have to have come back, right? We'll have to have
Who, Jonathan?
Brian, no, Brian.
Yeah, well, I'm
come
planning on coming back on your show.
Because
Brian, you're always
I have
on time.
ton-
I got a
tons
book
more
coming out.
information.
I got a lot of information out of today's show. This has been great.
Thanks
Wow,
for having
thanks.
us.
Yeah,
This is
it's-
fun.
I felt like
Where
I
are
was
you
in the
at?
hot seat.
1877 New Fed 1?
Yeah, we got to play the jingle. 877 New
I've
Fed
never
1.
heard that jingle
Oh, can
before.
I dance?
I hear him more than
you
my
have a jingle.
family members.
You have a jingle too, Catalog.
We have a jingle there.
Yeah.
See, this is what she does on our show. She turns into Ellen. All right, we almost made it through the whole show. Hang in there. Thanks for having us today, Brian.
There's no such thing
And there's no such thing
as
as
easy money.
But if there is, send us an email.
It's a new day. Call 877 New Fed 1. It's a new way.
Hi, folks. It's Brian Damico, owner of New Fed Mortgage, and I'm really excited to introduce Fast Track Mortgage, our new online system that gets you approved in less than 15 minutes. Whether it's a refinance or a new purchase, just go to newfed.com anytime, day or night, and click on the Fast Track Mortgage button. Fill out the form, and within 15 minutes, we'll approve your loan at the lowest rate possible. Don't waste time dealing with big banks. We're local and here to help you close your loan fast. Just go to newfed.com 24/7 and get approved in less than 15 minutes. Fast Track from New Fed Mortgage. Now that's a new way to get the loan you need fast.
877 New Fed 1.
Subject to credit approval, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 1881. Call us to the website for details.
877 New Fed 1.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.